What is going on in this crazy world? He chose you to be a blessing to the world. Why did he choose you? No, because you're so nice. God spreads out all the ethnicities across the planet, but he chooses one for himself. He chooses the people of Israel. He spreads out all these people groups according to the sons of God, the number of the sons of God. But verse 9 says, "For the Lord's portion is his people, Jacob his allotted inheritance." And then also we find a parallel verse in Deuteronomy 4:19. So if you look at Deuteronomy 4:19, I'll read that to you. This is the warning Moses makes to the people of Israel before they go into the promised land. Deuteronomy 4:19, "And when you look up to the sky and see the sun and the moon and the stars, all the heavenly array," which is a metaphor for these deities, these hosts of heaven, these fallen hosts of heaven, "do not be enticed into bowing down to them and worshiping things the Lord your God has apportioned to all the nations under heaven." So in other words, he's saying that the Lord God apportioned all these other deities, which are represented by these different celestial objects. He apportioned those to the other nations. But verse 20, "But as for you," he's speaking to the Israelites, "the Lord took you and brought you out of the iron smelting furnace out of Egypt to be the people of his inheritance as you are now." So in other words, once again, and we read in lots of places in the Old Testament how God chose those people, these Jewish people. All other people are spread out of these territories that are claimed by these deities. But you people, I'm putting you in my land, the land that I call my own. And there's a lot of talk today about who the land of Israel belongs to. Well, read Leviticus 26. It's clear who it belongs to. It belongs to God. In fact, even when he brings the Israelites into the promised land, he tells them, "This is my land. And therefore I can do what I want. And if you take care of my land, I'm going to let you live here. And if you don't take care of my land, if you don't pay your rent, so to speak, if you don't do what you're supposed to do, then I'm going to scatter you." And so what happens? That's exactly what he does. He lets them live in his land for a period of time. And then because they don't do what he says, in 722 BC, the king of Assyria comes and scatters the northern tribes, takes them into captivity, and then 100-something years later, in 586 BC, the final attack of King Nebuchadnezzar against Jerusalem happens. He destroys the city, and all the people of Israel are scattered to all the nations around the world, all over the place, just as he promised in Leviticus 26. So why did God do that? Because God had a plan. You have to understand that every time that God does things, he's got a plan that's bigger than what people imagine. So he scatters the Jewish people all around the world because he has a plan to spread his name. He has a plan to bring the nations to him. In fact, let's look at what his original plan was for the Jewish people back in Genesis 12, starting in verse 1. So let's look at Genesis 12, verse 1. This is the start of his call on the Jewish people. Remember, he's going to scatter all the ethnicities, but there's one ethnicity that he's going to choose for himself. "The Lord has said to Abram, leave your country, your people, and your father's household, and go to the land I will show you." What land is he going to show him? He's going to show him his land, God's land, as it says in Leviticus 26 and other places. This is God's land. He's going to take Abraham, and he's going to bring him to that land, and he's going to make a great nation out of him. And he tells him that in verse 2. "I will make you into a great nation, and I will bless you. I will make your name great, and you will be a blessing. I will bless those who bless you, and whoever curses you, I will curse. And all peoples," there it is, all those peoples, the people groups that were talked about in chapter 11, all those people groups on the earth will be blessed through you. Okay, he's choosing Abraham to do something special. Why does he choose Abraham? Actually, his name is Abram in the beginning there. Why does he choose Abram? He chooses Abram because Abram's such a good guy, right? That's not why. Why does he choose him? He chooses him. He gives him this message. He gives him this assignment because he wants to bless, look at the last part of verse 3, all peoples on earth. to be blessed. Why did you choose Abraham? To bless the people of the world. Why did he choose you? Not because you're so nice. Not because you work so hard. He chose you to be a blessing to the world. In fact, let's talk a little bit more about this because it's so easy to forget. Let me just ask you this. Why did God bless America? Oh, think about it. God bless America because we were built on godly principles. Yep, that's what it says. Or God bless America because we worked really hard. Okay, there's some truth to that, but here's the deal. That's what the Jews said too, and God warned the Jews not to say that. Let's look at it. Deuteronomy chapter 8. Remember, Deuteronomy is the retelling by Moses to the people of Israel of their journey over the past 40 years through the wilderness. And so when you get to chapter 8, Moses is warning the people just before they go into the promised land. Verse 10. When you have eaten, now he's giving them a warning. You're going to go into the promised land. When you have eaten and are satisfied, praise the Lord your God for the good things he's given you. Okay. But here's the warning. Be careful that you do not forget the Lord your God, failing to observe his commands and his laws and his decrees that I'm giving you today. Otherwise, verse 12, when you eat and are satisfied, in other words, when you got all that you need, when you build fine houses like you probably have, and settle down, and when your herds and flocks and bank accounts and your 401ks and your silver and your gold increase and everything is multiplied, then verse 14, then your heart will become proud, and you will forget the Lord your God, who brought you out of Egypt, out of the land of slavery. He's saying on all this, don't forget, but remember the Lord your God, for it is he who gives you the ability to produce wealth, and so confirms his covenant, which he swore to your forefathers as it is today. Okay, this is really important. Why did God bless them? Why did he give them the ability to produce wealth? Look at what it says. To confirm the covenant. Which covenant? The covenant of the forefathers. Well, what covenant was that? It's Genesis 12. To bless the world. What was the covenant? I'm going to bless you people so that you can be a blessing to the world. Now we go on. That's chapter 8. And now we go down to chapter 9. Verse 4. Same kind of thing. After the Lord your God has driven those nations out before you, do not say to yourself, the Lord has brought me here to take possession of the land because of my righteousness. No, it's not because you're so good. It's on account of the wickedness of these nations that the Lord is going to drive them out before you. It is not because of your righteousness or your integrity that you're going to take possession of the land, but on account of the wickedness of those nations. The Lord your God will drive them out before you to accomplish, here it is. Why? To accomplish what he swore to your fathers, to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. What did he swear to them? To use them to be a blessing to the whole world. That's what we just read in Genesis 12:3. Understand then that it's not because of your righteousness. This is verse 6. Understand then that it's not because of your righteousness that the Lord your God is giving you this good land to possess, because you're a stiff-necked people. You know what stiff-necked means? That's like when you ever pick up a kid and they go like this. That's stiff-necked. And God is saying to these people, his chosen people, which might include you too, you're a stiff-necked people. Here's the point. You ask the Jews, why has God blessed you? Deuteronomy 8, because we are hard-working people. Or they say, Deuteronomy chapter 9, because we're good people. You ask Americans the same thing. Why did God bless you? Because we worked hard. Or God, because we're righteous people. And God says in both of those cases, it's not because you work so hard, and it's not because you're so righteous, because you ain't righteous. In other words, he's speaking to all of us. I'm blessing you because I have a plan that through this blessing you, that you are going to fulfill the covenant that I made to Abraham. The covenant to Abraham to bless all the nations. Now let's close with this verse. Exodus 19:6. Exodus 19:6 tells the Jews what they were supposed to do. God says to them this, although the whole earth is mine, you Jews will be for me a kingdom of priests and a holy nation. What does that mean? That means the Jewish people had a specific job to be a kingdom of priests, bringing, you remember what a priest does? A priest stands between the people and God. There was the high priest in the Levitical system that stood between the priest and God. There were the priests who stood between the Levites and the people and God. And the Jewish people as a whole were the people, were the priests of the world. That they were to be the priestly kingdom to represent God to the nations of the world and represent the nations of the world to God. And guess what? Now, as it says in 1 Peter 2:9, you are a chosen people, a royal priesthood, a holy nation, a people belonging to God, that you may declare the praises of him who called you out of darkness into his wonderful light. Once you were not a people, but now you're the people of God. Once you had not received mercy, but now you have received mercy. Here's the point of all this, is that you people who are not Jewish, you've been grafted into this Jewish nation to accomplish this purpose that God had called Abraham for, to bless him so that he'd be a blessing to the whole world. You have been blessed so that you can be a blessing to the world. And what is going on in this crazy world? They will reign on the earth. Is the devil just bluffing?